Hey folks, thanks for coming over to Capitalism for Good. This is a part of a larger project where I am on a mission to interview 100 business leaders about the positive impact that they have on their internal and external communities. It is through these interviews that we will dig into how we can use the ways in which we make and spend our dollars in order to benefit the greater good. Folks, today we have Kate Assaraf, who is the CEO of a company called Dip. It's a sustainable hair care brand, and she is just so insightful and so admirable in so many different ways. She has this unique ability to truly understand her customers, and her mentality is to just talk to them like her friends, I think is her words. And there was something that really stuck out to me about her like anti-shame mentality, that it is such a supportive approach, especially in this day and age where the goal might be to get the world as a collective to pay attention to their choices and their impact on the earth and the community and all of those kinds of things. And even at one point during this interview, I caught myself where I was telling a story where I was essentially shaming a friend, and like her mentality on that really made me rethink the way that I approach those kinds of things with the people that are around me, because I find it so inspiring, and it's almost like, yes, her hair care brand is a sustainable product, but it's not just that. She talks about how she started it because she wanted something that worked. She wasn't finding what she was looking for, and then the bonus was that she could create something that was also a sustainable plastic-free product. And as you'll hear in this interview, she really built all of those kinds of values into the structure and the backside of her company, so that the front side can just lead like a normal hair care brand, just like every other hair care brand out there. And I think that that is really truly admirable, that she really does a great job of showing and not telling, or like leading by example in that kind of a way. And it once again, like a lot of these leaders, it seems to be a quality and a perspective that is really baked into her and who she is and the entire life that she has built. And so it seems as though it's almost second nature that her company fits all of these same things as well. So I'll let her kind of dig in and tell you more about her experience and her story and the things that are important to her, and really all about Dip. So enjoy. Well,
Well,
let's jump in, and thanks so much for being here, Kate. Can you give us a little bit of a backstory about your career history and your experience and what led you to Dip?
okay. So, hey everyone, I'm Kate. I'm the founder of Dip Sustainable Hair Care, and basically, we're very serious hair care for not so serious people. That's as deep as it goes. It's so good. It happens to be plastic free, and that's really part of kind of the essence that got me here. I've been in the beauty industry for about 20 years, and I discovered in 2014 when I was pregnant with my first son that uh, the accumulation of plastic was one problem on the planet, and that was like very scary to find out, right? That it's accumulating. But the other thing I learned in 2014 was the health impacts that plastic was having on aquatic life, and eventually now we're learning 10 years later it's becoming mainstream that it's disrupting human life, and there's plastic in every tissue in our bodies. And so, you know, in 2021, I launched Dip as kind of, I built it out of frustration. I couldn't find hair care that met my standards of what I really wanted my shampoo and conditioner to leave me feeling like when I came out of the shower. And so I built it out of frustration. I was like, I'm going to solve these two problems. The two problems it solves is that the shampoo bar you can use, it's gentle enough to use every day. So me, I'm a runner. I run in the woods every day and I need to shower. after. And so I didn't want that overwashed feeling. So I made it very gentle, the shampoo. And the conditioner, it works as well as my salon conditioners, but it also detangles my hair after I go surfing or, swim in a lake or swim in a pool because I've been bringing conditioner with me to the beach since I was 11. And I didn't want to make a conditioner bar that couldn't solve that problem that I used my everyday conditioner for.
So you were, did you say 20 years that you were in
Yeah.
hair care? Were
Well,
you,
in beauty.
oh, okay. Not what led you into hair specifically?
Well, I've always loved hair since I was a kid. I've
Yeah.
always, it's just been something I've always noticed about people. I've always changed my hair. I've had every kind of hair that you can imagine. Like, I have had platinum blonde hair, I have had black hair, I've had purple, pink, green by accident hair. I've had box braids with extensions where I sat in a chair for 10 hours and had those done. I've had, um, yeah, I've had a purple beehive
Oh my
that I
gosh.
rocked for a while. I have so many different. I've had all different kinds of hair, and I love hair so much. So I just feel like it's one of the most emotional ways to get people to notice plastic without kind of badgering them and finger waggling them into, changing, like making all these changes. Because I think that era of marketing is over and it's been
Mm.
over, and I've never participated in it. And I just think people want to make changes that make them feel good about themselves. But they're not willing to make that change if it means that they have to have a bad hair day every day.
Can we talk a little bit about that, the era of marketing of like I think about it a lot in terms of I still notice it in if we'll just talk about like podcasting here or some kind
Yeah.
of like media outlet, there the norm still seems to be like interrupt someone's thought. Here's the thing, buy the thing. Sweeping generalization, normally it's like something that we don't really need. There are some differences there. There are obviously some companies and some advertisers that are like actually getting into solving a problem and like, hey, actually like this is helpful and not necessarily like contributing to a lot of the problems in the world. But like, what has your experience been like doing that a different way? Because I'll say that I do that. I interact with advertisers a little bit differently with this project than kind of the standard. And one, it's a learning curve for me because there's not a ton of people out there doing it more and more every day, but there's not a ton of people doing it the way that I'm doing it. And I can imagine from a sales perspective, from like a product perspective, that might create some barriers that might be a little bit of like uncharted territory in comparison to this old school way that things used to be done.
Yeah.
What's been your experience with that?
There's a lot of things that you asked there. So, um, the first thing is that the finger waggling, fear marketing being over, like it never really begun for us.
Mm,
So, so it's just for me as a consumer, I put myself in the consumer's shoes. It's like, what does this seagull with like a bottle cap in its mouth have to do with shampoo? And the answer is nothing because the ocean's not filled with shampoo bottles. So, like, making like kind of guilting people and scaring people into buying your products because of other adjacent environmental issues is just like I think people are not only tired of it, I don't think they ever liked it to begin with, but I think that it just like what are you doing? Like what I don't understand it. Like I like and maybe it's because I'm from New Jersey and maybe in New Jersey we're just more upfront with each other, but when I started the marketing for Dip, I was like, well, I'm just going to talk to my customers like my friends because I don't know people in real life that aren't like funny and smart and like I only know people on the internet that aren't funny and aren't smart, like but in real life like I meet all these like amazing people and everyone wants to do better for the planet. What they don't want is to be like scared into doing better for the planet, you know?
yeah.
Especially like in just modern day life. Like it's very easy for someone in their, early 20s to bark at adults and say, you need to change everything you've ever learned about every consumer purchase you've ever made. But like that's not actually helping anyone because the choices and the disposable income most people have in their 20s is very different than what people have when they're like supporting a family. Like it's hard to tell a mother who has to pack lunches for, two kids, like, hey, take plastic out of your whole routine or else and you're terrible. And you have to think of your kids, and that's like not helpful.
Yeah.
Because someone else doesn't have to make that decision. Like there's a lot of kind of disconnect in the people that are yelling at other people about making change and the people that are really have to like live the day by day and take care of a family, and conveniences are helpful when you're taking care of a family. So you have to remember that that whole group of people, like, they want to do better for their kids, but you making them feel terrible all the time is just not the right move. So that's how I feel about that. And so with dip, I barely ever mention plastic at all in the marketing. It's just
Okay.
not really part of the story. It's because what people want when they're buying shampoo and conditioner, it's not about plastic. Maybe that's like the tertiary reason they purchase it. What they really want is excellent hair care. And I just happen to make the bars as big as possible so you can hold them and like they'll last as long as they can, So I make a product that you have to buy less, that performs like the amazing stuff, that ends up saving people money in the long run.
Yeah, it sounds almost like the way that you've approached it is like the plastic-free part, the green part, the environmentally friendly part is like a given. Like that's the norm. We don't need
Yeah,
to talk about it because that's the way it is. But like the focus is the actual product and like does it
yeah,
work?
yeah. And I think people appreciate that because I think people are tired of being kind of shamed in their consumption, like you can say, I have never shopped on Shein, right? But like almost every mother I know does. And so like you can because when you're supporting a family and the money is tight, like people make those decisions, right?
Mhm.
It's not about the environment at that point. So it's well, I just am an observer in general, and I observe that there's a disconnect between what is being said online and what the actual consumer is. And I go out of my way to make sure that our consumers feel good about what they've purchased. And it's not so much like, thanks for purchasing this, you're saving all these bottles. It's like, thanks for purchasing this. It's going to save you money and last a long time.
In kind of thinking about that and the way that you got started,
Mhm.
was that kind of your focus the whole
Yeah.
time, or is that something that you kind of learned along the way after you got started here?
Well, it's a little of both because you can't, I don't know when I've learned certain things and when I haven't, but
Yeah.
from the beginning of Dip, it was launched in such a way that the plastic part wasn't our focus. The
Mm.
plastic is my focus. That's my focus personally. Like I want people to accidentally be plastic free because they love Dip, not because they're plastic free, they choose Dip, if that makes sense.
Yeah. When you first started, were you personally the one doing the marketing, but also were you the one-stop shop for everything?
Yeah. Yeah, except manufacturing. Like I
Okay.
wasn't. So I worked with a chemist. He only made bars for us, but he spent 40 years in the hair care
Okay, great.
industry. And then I didn't want him to benchmark another bar because that's kind of what happens in beauty. You bring someone, a chemist, something and like reverse engineer this and add some marketing ingredients. We didn't do that. I was like, you've made some of the best hair care in the world that's been sold in salons, that's been sold in the back for back bar use and has been, purchased by some of the biggest brands ever. Take what you know and make the best bars possible. And we did 40 iterations before we got to what dip is, but it was like really, really important to him and myself, that we made this the best. And I put it through the ringer before we ever brought it to market. So I made sure it worked on like, thin type 1A hair, like, and
Right.
then on waves, and then all the way to type 4 B hair. 4C it does work for, but a lot of times, 4C customers want a little bit more. They still want to use a curl cream or something on top.
Yeah. What was that time frame? You've got 40 iterations. Like, what was that time frame in trying to like nail down what your
So,
yeah.
so it's probably over a year. It's
Okay.
over a year, but like, sometimes he would make 5 versions,
Mm.
right? And I would choose the best of the 5 at a time. So, we A/B tested lots of different ingredients and lots of different, you know, like new ingredients, old tried and true ingredients. We did it all. And then once I had what I thought was the best version, I sent it out to everyone I knew, like about 400 people, got all of their feedback, and then did another round and did it again, and then we had dip. So I did a lot before we went to market to make sure it was exactly what we wanted it to be.
Yeah. What were the things that along the way that didn't turn out the way that you wanted it to be? Like, what were those like pitfalls or like lessons that you learned the hard way when you were starting something from the ground up? Like,
I think the hardest thing I learned was I invested in a certification that was supposed to help with consumer safety, ingredients, and transparency. And then that certification ended up sunsetting the whole thing that made that useful to my consumers. And it was like a big mess. That was probably my most expensive mistake um, in the first like 2 years of business.
yeah. But things like that, I mean, I don't know about your experience, but like it's kind of hard to know from the outset like what's gonna
Yeah.
happen. Like you can't really look into a crystal ball. Like you don't know
Yeah.
what you don't know there.
Yeah, but you can look at an empty bank account and be like, that was the worst
Yeah.
use of my money ever. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the price tags for some of these things, that one happened to be a financial commitment of $50,000. And so think about how much shampoo I have to sell just to make sure
Mhm.
that this is there. And so that was one of the biggest mistakes I ever invested in. And, it's one of these things that you learn. And sometimes people ask me like, oh, why don't you have Leaping Bunny? And why don't you have these other certs? And I'm just like, I just don't want to. Like I know it's cruelty free. I put it on the box that it's cruelty free, but I just don't have the cert for it. And maybe further down the line when I'm less sour about certs, I'll change my mind. But like for now, um that's how it's just not something I'm really running towards after my experience.
Yeah. And kind of thinking about that, one thing that I'm always interested in because, well, I'll just say it's like a personal struggle of mine. Sometimes it's like the world in the external is so chaotic. There's so much volatility, especially I can only imagine being in a business where you're actually selling tangible products and you've got all of these like outside influences and political influences and all of these types of things. Like the world is insane. And how do you create like that stability within a company and that that level-headed just like we got to get through this because you got real employees, real jobs on the
Yeah.
line, real like your security, you've got all of these things happening, but like mistakes are going to happen or
Yeah.
these outside factors are going to happen. Like how are you going about setting up that stability? Or like what's your take on that?
I don't think any entrepreneur has any sort of stability at all. So it's almost like one of these questions that I would be curious how other people answer that one. The stability I create for my employees is that they know that they're gonna get paid during
Right.
payroll. Like, even
Yeah.
if that means I'm not paid. Like, I make sure that our employees are taken care of. I make sure that our customers, I try and make sure that our customers are happy with their purchases and feel heard. There's that's the only stability I can create behind the curtain is, treating the employees and our customers with a lot of respect. So we try and do that.
I can't help but think though, and I know that this is probably just the way you operate in your personality, but like
Mm.
that line about even if it means that I'm not getting paid, like you're
Yeah.
putting your employees there first. Not every business leader would operate like that. Not every
Yeah.
business leader would be willing to take that personal sacrifice, especially when we've got these business models that are almost like baked into it is this like expansion and then layoff model every like
Mhm.
into while I mean I understand that there are sometimes circumstances where that happens and that's unfortunate and nobody likes to live in that world. But like to actually approach it from a perspective of like, we're going to do everything to keep us from doing that.
Yeah.
What do you think the motivating factor is there?
Well, for me, it's like I'm my own boss. I don't have investors or anyone to like answer
Mhm.
to. So, I don't
Yeah.
really, you want to have an ethical business, you have to make sure your employees are paid. So it's it's kind of a no-brainer, like a non. It's I don't know how to do it another way. You know what I mean? And the I don't have anyone to report sales to or have to show growth to or any of those things. So, in that sense, I can understand if someone has a lot of pressure, so, they have to like squeeze out every dollar for their business as possible. Like that's probably you're just walking a different path than I am, and you have to make different decisions. So like I don't criticize those entrepreneurs at all, but I just happen to not have to. I'm not even in the same boat, you know?
Is that something that was purposeful to not go
Yeah.
after it and not take on investors, or is that something that was just a benefit of the way in which you grew and scaled?
Both. So it's both. I like I am kind of a lone wolf. I like marching to the beat of my own drum. If you notice, like Dip isn't part of any like plastic coalitions or free coalitions or anything. I like just I'm not interested in being part of a thing. Like I don't know how I don't I guess I'm not really a team player when it like I love people around me, but I don't need them so involved in my decision making because I'm confident in my own decision making. And even when I get things wrong, like the only person that has to punish me is me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't have to, I don't have to answer to anyone else, and that is probably one of the very few benefits of being an entrepreneur, to be honest.
Yeah. But I imagine that that is one of the coolest parts of it is like you can do it your own way. And those
Yeah,
things that, I mean, I'll speak from my experience that there are things that I have loved about companies and employers that I've worked for before, and there are things that like drove me bananas. And the parts
yeah,
that drove me bananas were often when I was like, don't you see that we're going down the wrong pathway? Or don't you see that this is like you're we're undercutting ourselves here? Don't you like
yeah,
don't in it's this like separation in ideologies and like being able to maybe not be a team player, but you're definitely being a team leader here. Like you get to
yeah,
set the culture, you get to set the expectations, you get to set the process and the procedures and the way that you operate your own
yeah.
way.
Yeah, well, I've never been on a committee where things get done in the best way. So, I mean, you know, I I just prefer to be and I also just think that about almost everything. Like I think there's always needs to be like a chief that is like the final say on everything and that, you know, it creates less conflict within an organization if there's one person that's like, okay, we're doing it this way or and not this way, instead of like let's take a vote because then you have like I don't know. To me, I find that that is a little it's a little less productive, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm very lucky that my team is like amazing. They're like full of great ideas. They're like I hired two people from within the refill community. So they really know sustainability inside and out.
Yeah.
Just both geographically moved away from their stores. So they like understand the community even better than I do. So I've hired people that are better than me at almost everything, but
Yeah.
and I think that actually makes decision making much easier. So I can trust them with what they say, but also like at the end of the day, I'll take the heat for any bad decisions that happen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's also like a really great quality to be like, all right, but it also like is on me. I'm the
Yeah.
head here. It's okay if it's not
Yeah.
going the way we wanted it to go here. Where do you think that did you have a mentor or like a super or someone that you looked up to that like taught you or like led the way in that mentality? Or did you just like learn that along the way? Or do you think it's just baked into who you are? Like, where did your leadership philosophy come from?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know whether it's in me. Everyone with an ego likes to think it's like just in them. I don't know. It might be. My favorite. I have a couple of favorite business mentors. One, is my dear friend Herb Mitchell. He's like one of the coolest, smartest people I've ever met. And I worked in the toy industry for a little bit, and he helped get my job there. And it was one of the most fun jobs ever. But I talked to him literally, he's like my mentor in so many things in business, in just like interpersonal relationships, in like marriage. Like he's just one of my favorite people. And I've known him since I was like a kid. And so he's amazing. And then I would say my stepmom, she was an Iranian immigrant. She moved here with two little girls, and she built a small, like, what wasn't small, it was a business empire. Of office furniture back like before Amazon kind of and Wayfair and all those businesses came in. She started with a small store, ended up owning a whole block on Jericho Turnpike in Long Island. And like, she did that as a woman, as a mother, as an immigrant, and you know, she was just one of my favorite people to listen to talk about business. She treated her employees really, really well. And even like, at one point she had a housekeeper that eventually she invested in that housekeeper she wanted to open a restaurant. My stepmom did that for her. And then she was able to get on her feet and build her own empire. Like, you see like women supporting women. My stepmom was the exact example of that. And she gave me two stepsisters who are also like the example of that. And so, and my own sister. I mean, like I've been very lucky to be surrounded by like generous, loving women, and I wish that for everyone. I hope everyone has a posse of amazing people around them because like you can't help but get excited about generosity and giving and paying things forward when you're the recipient of it also, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I can't relate to that enough. I that has been my experience too. I just have had the greatest experience of just naturally being surrounded by like the greatest people who like it's inherent to us to like cheer one another on and to be
Yeah.
excited about like what's going on and just like I don't know. I never really, I mean, I'm sure when I was like in junior high or something, I dealt with like the cattiness of like younger kids or something like that. But like
Yeah.
for the most part, like I I've got friends that I am still incredibly close with that I met in like elementary school and that I've like
Yeah.
collected along the way. And I'm like, I don't know how we got to be like so lucky to be surrounded by this because I get that not everyone's experience has been like that.
Well, you know how like this is kind of a weird analogy, but you know how like actually I won't go down this road.
Oh, I really want you to now.
No, I was gonna say if I've adopted cats throughout my life, and you get like a cat that has been like nurtured, or a cat that's been kind of,
Yeah.
not nurtured in the same way, and they grow up to be different types of cats, you know? And so I think that's probably true across different, I'd say mammals especially, but then humans, because like you really are like become like the product of what you were surrounded by. And I was very lucky to be surrounded by very amazing people that uplifted me. Of course, there was always people that like try to knock you down and all that stuff. I just like don't focus on those people. um
Yeah.
and the people that, uplifted me, like that's I think that's who how you become who you are.
Yeah. It's interesting hearing you talk about that because that's almost like the opposite of like the lone wolf personality. But it's all, I mean, I get it though, that it's almost like, but I'm like choosing my own crew here in
Yeah.
some
Yeah,
kind of a
yeah.
way.
I'm curating it instead of being kind of like getting a randomized opinions around me, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and there's other things like I guess I studied economics, and a lot of the things that made me so excited about economics were it's really not the study of money or any of these things. It's the study of choice, and the way people choose things is always interesting to me. Um, it's why I continue reading like very dry economics books, even though I haven't been in college for like 20 years. Um, I still love them. I still read them.
I do the same thing. I studied political science in college and still like you can't you can't get me away from like a dry history book or like something about
Yeah.
government that's just like some theory from like an ancient civilization or something. And I'm like, well, there's something that we can learn from this though.
Yeah. People generally stay the same.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
talking about that like curated community though,
Mhm.
so one thing that is it seems to be a key to your community is one, other sustainable product like brands and manufacturers, but also those zero waste refillery stores as
Yeah.
well. Can you talk a little bit about like the importance and the impact that you see of not only the folks like you that are like creating the products and making those things available, but also like the retailers of those.
Yeah, so it's no secret that Dip as a brand supports the refill community in a big way. We do as much as we can to make sure that our refill partners, especially, are successful and that they don't have to compete with having our products on Amazon or, kind of all over the internet. Like we encourage people to shop in store. And so, what the thing about refilleries is that obviously Dip is not, the bars are not a refill product, but if I can get people excited about dip enough to go into their store, I want someone to accidentally, just through kind of like osmosis, see the other replacements in their life that can make like life easier for them. So it's pretty lofty. Like I want the to dangle the carrot of dip to get you in the refill store, and then maybe you'll replace paper towels for the rest of your life. Or maybe you'll see that like you can never have to buy saran wrap or Ziploc bags for your kids' lunch ever again, and maybe you can see that, wow, you can refill hand soap and use that same, like, whatever container you have, whether you're a molten brown person or a soft soap gal, like, you can refill whatever in there. And maybe eventually you'll realize that, hey, I can make these changes and actually they save me a lot of money in the long term. Like, for someone who cooks a lot, like I cook a lot, I refill all of my spices at my local refill store. And it's not just like, it saves me like 10%. It saves me like 90% in most cases, like
Yeah.
by refilling spices. Because really the weight of the thing you're buying in the supermarket is the bottle. Like
Yeah.
it's not actually the spice that I mean, you obviously are paying for the spice, but most of it is like the transport and all of this stuff of the other materials around the spices. And
Yeah.
so I do whatever I can to get people into refill stores, even the refill stores that choose to not carry my products. But I'm that's like my number one passion outside of hair is like getting people to just realize that these stores exist and going in and shopping there and getting excited that they can make some swaps. Obviously, not all the swaps, like that's crazy, but like finding like one, two, five, 10 over the course of a few years is very, very manageable and it's very impactful.
I also find even in just my own experience that like once you make one swap and you incorporate that in your life, it becomes, I mean, it's like habit forming and all of those kinds of
Yeah.
things. Like you do one thing and then it becomes either a normal part of your life and you don't really think about it, and then you can focus on the next thing later. But like I had a realization probably within the last, I don't know, like year or two where I was like, oh wow, I don't remember the last time that I actually bought paper towels. Like it might have been like 7, 8 years since I've done that. And it happened like being at a friend's house, like visiting them and going to the grocery store. And they were like, oh, we need napkins, we need paper towels, we need all of these things. And I'm looking at the grocery bill and I was like, what? What?
Yeah.
Please tell me that you have thought about getting rid of this because I can tell you that I don't pay for this. And she's like very frugal, very money conscious, very much like, and I was like, oh, you like actually don't have to buy these things. And it
Yeah.
had never occurred to her in the same way that it had never really occurred to me that I was doing it. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, well, that's like the thing is I want people to go in and discover things on their own because it's really hard to go into a store, I don't know, for me anyway, to just be like, okay, I'm going to take this one thing off the shelf and get to the register. I kind of like to browse and see what's going on in there. And so getting someone into a refill store, they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize, I could replace toothpaste. Like just simple things. Or like the one I'm lucky because the refill store by me also has food. So like I
Yeah.
refill pasta, I refill like, lentils. The thing we refill the most, just mango cheeks. Like that's we ended up refilling the most. And I have two little kids, so gummy worms also. Um, and
Yeah.
the cool thing about refill stores is that they do the homework for you. So kind of in a world where we're bombarded by digital marketing, the refill stores do all the homework and they choose the best, what they think is the best of each product. And they're very ingredient conscious. So like if you see something on the shelf there, it's chances are it's been like super vetted by that store owner. And I think people after kind of like the sustainability boom of 2020 to 2022, I think people feel so burned by sustainability that they like need kind of to reset and go in and see what the new options are, that the brands that have survived and weren't like a cash grab the whole time.
What are your recommendations when people ask you? Because I'm sure people are coming to you all the time and being like, okay, but like, if I've never really made a sustainability swap in my life, obviously hair care is a great one.
Yeah.
What are those other ones that you're like, okay, just start here? Like, is it food? Is it like cleaning products? Like, what is it?
Well, it
Paper
depends on
towel?
who
Like,
they
what's your
are.
thing?
Well, it depends on who they are, like, and what their
Mhm.
lifestyle is, really, because, like, if you cook, like, there's a whole bunch of recommendations that I'll make for you. Like, one is the spices, two is like, the refilling, the dish soap. Like, I love the dish soap, or even bar dish soap. I prefer liquid still. I'm still on the liquid train for
Yeah.
dish soap. These stores have these, it's such a small thing, but like, these bamboo pot scrapers are like the best thing ever. And I like love that when they're kind of done, I can just toss them in the fire when I'm out in the backyard.
Yeah.
So if someone's like cooking, like there's the food huggers that keep your avocados fresh, and then there's stasher bags, which like you can store anything in them, and then also marinade. Like there's so many things for someone who cooks. If someone is like, okay, I don't cook, like then what? Then I would go, into um all like these essentials that you consume all the time. So hand soap, laundry, dishwasher detergent, like those types of things. Paper towels is another one, napkins. Like so there, I mean, really depends on the person. If someone's like a beauty junkie and they're like, hey, I want to switch all my whole beauty regimen to plastic-free stuff, I'd be like, well, check out Elate, check out Axiology, check out Do Mighty, check out the Rebrand, like check those brands out and you're gonna find something that suits your lifestyle. Even if you don't invest in all of them, you'll get some of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's so many options out there for so many different types of people, and so really like, if anyone asks me what changes they can make, I can rattle off any for their personality. Like I'm 10 years deep into this game, so
Yeah. Also, you alluded to this earlier, but about just like having lofty goals and like kind of a big picture that's like motivating you. Dealer's choice if you want to talk about dip or if you want to talk about like you personally, but like where do you see you going next? Like what's in the future?
so I have a very boring answer for this. It's like I am very happy with where my company is, and I
Yeah.
love the team, and I'm, it's like a revenue that supports my team and the product and the production. And so, I don't have like these big growth dreams because the more you grow, like the more resources and the harder it is on the environment. And so I'm happy with like lateral moves, and if more hair salons want to bring in dip, which we've seen that category growing, and more surf shops want to bring in dip. So like because there's really the three places we sell in a lot of refill stores around the country, but also hair salons and surf shops. Like if more embrace the movement and we get more people excited about going into stores and really understanding that, like, you don't just have to be a consumer of the beach, like you can actually be a protector of it, and you don't have to be like kind of stuck in the fast consumption of salon products. You can actually slow it down and end up saving a lot of money, and like that's also something that's really important. So if more people get on board, I would be really happy. But as far as like, I don't have like global plans or any, I still want to have time. I have my business so I can still spend time with my family and my kids while they're little. So
Yeah. Do you recognize like how amazing that is? That you,
no,
one,
I don't
are
know
at a
how.
point like I'm gonna point out two things that like really struck me when you were talking about that is like one, you you created something that was like what you wanted in your dream to fill a need that you saw, and you built a company based on your values and the things that were important to you, and you made it look like the way that you made it look. And you also seem to have done that with like your whole life and your whole personal life. Like, not to be like, there's nowhere else for you to go from me, but like you did it. And
Well, when you
that
say it that
that's
way, it
so
sounds way more impressive, but I'm living it like day to day, and it just
yeah.
feels like it's part of like, I guess the thing that makes me feel really lucky is that like I do wake up every day and I'm excited to run my company and I'm excited to interact with my team and my customers. Like those are all things that like I guess are part of living a fulfilling life, and I feel very fulfilled in that way. But you know, it breezes over, and all of the kind of craziness that and all of the like all of the challenges that get you to this spot, you know what I mean? And so like I I do feel very fortunate and excited about my company all the time, but I'm also like like, I'm trying to put it in the right words. I also like always have a little bit of a knot in my stomach that one day it's all going to go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's a weird thing. Like it's, and I also, some of the first 2 years, especially like the amount of all-nighters I pulled and like sometimes 20-hour work days and stuff, like it was crazy. And I still work very hard, but it is a different kind of working hard now. It's like, it's it's like I can't believe it worked working hard, you know? And like
Yeah.
how do we keep this magic is the part of the work now. Like how do we keep this magic with our retailers and our customers and you know and the magic with our employees is there. I really love the people I get to talk to every day.
Yeah. What advice do you have for other women, other people out there who are like, man, I'm not really fulfilled in my work life, in my personal life, in my whatever. Like, I'm not really fulfilled. I have these dreams. They seem so daunting to go after. I'll never be able to do it. I'll never have the time. I'll never have the money. I'll never have the whatever to be able to do it. Like, it or the people who are in the stage of like, now I'm working those 20-hour days. Now I'm the one
Yeah.
that is doing this, and like it's really hard and I don't know whether I can do it and I'm afraid that it's going to crumble down. Like, how what advice do you have for people to like move past that?
Well, I would say you set your own goalposts, right? So if your business is pulling in $5,000 a month consistently, like pat yourself on the back. That's like a big deal. But like maybe set the next goalpost not at like 10,000, maybe go to like 7,000 and see what you can do to appreciate the baby steps that let you cross these checkpoints and make you feel better along the way. A lot of times people set their goals to be so lofty that you can't appreciate the journey. And so if you can make the smaller wins feel like real wins, like that feels really good. For me, I'm very conscious of like the goalposts being kind of manageable. Like I need them to be manageable. Otherwise, I would be sad.
Yeah.
You have to set your own
Yeah.
expectations. And I'm not saying lower your bar, but maybe like set that big goal, maybe, 2 years ahead of you and set the more manageable ones like right in front of you so you can like feel joy instead of the stress.
This is such a like dumb trivial comparison, but I'm gonna make it anyway. Is I am also a runner, and especially if I'm on like a long run or something that just like feels monotonous, I'll just be like in my brain, I'll be like, just make it to the end of those bushes, just make it to
Yeah,
that crack in the
it's
sidewalk, just
exactly
make it to the
that.
end of the block. And it's like, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, 13 miles. Okay, I did it.
Yeah.
Like, but it is
Yeah.
the whole time I'm just like, all right, just make it to that tree.
Maybe it's being a runner that put me in that mindset because I have the same thing. I'm like, okay. Like that's actually, I don't know if you've ever run the rock and roll half marathons where there's a live music at every mile. But
Yeah.
like that helped me a lot because I was like, oh, I could just get to the next band. And then it's like, oh, I was just at that last band and now I'm at this band. And like now that is a fun series to run because it does keep you, you're like, it's only like 8 to 10 minutes between miles, pretty much for me anyway, at my pace. So like just another 8 to 10 minutes and I'm going to get to that next thing. And it, before you know it, you've run 13 of those suckers and you're like, wow, like
I
I'm
love
done.
it. I also just wrote it down in my notes so that I can look that up because that
So
sounds
yeah, they're all
great
over
and right up my alley.
yeah, they're great.
Okay, my last question for everyone here is who is another leader or business that you see out there in the world that is like doing things the right way? And it can be anyone, it can be a boss, it can be a mentor, it can be a client of yours, it can be a place that you are a customer of, like absolutely anything that you're like, all right, they deserve a shout out. They're doing it the right way.
Yeah, well, first I want to thank Lindsay from Plain Products for mentioning my name to you before. She's wonderful, and a lot of the names she talked about, like also Lindsay from Bite, is amazing. And I can name a whole bunch of people like Aubrey from the Rebrand, Tiffany from Do Mighty, Erica from Axiology, Anastasia from Inori. But then the person I would love to hear an interview with you would be Jeanette from Sustainable House. She's our number one retailer in the country. I don't think she gets shouted out enough for how much she does and how hard she works. And she is like one of those people that like absolutely like lives and practices what she preaches. And her social media game is like so fun and unmatched. And she's just great. And she is really wonderful and interesting. And like I would love to hear her talk on a more deep level. Like I know her very well now,
Yeah.
but like I would love for her to have a platform to talk about stuff.
I love that so much. Jeanette, look out for an email from me. I want to hear from you too. And thank you so much for doing this. This is so fun. And I feel like I've become a broken record, but like I truly mean it. It's so insightful. It is so inspiring to hear folks like you talk about your journey and the things that you're doing and the impact that is going on and like I mean, just goals with like the life that you've created, business and personal and everything. It has just been such a joy, and I wish you all the best. And I can't thank you
Yeah.
enough for doing
Yeah.
this.
Thank you so much for inviting me and it's been really fun. I can't wait to see it.
Thank you so much to every single person that's listened, every single person that has told someone else about it, that has shared an episode, that has sent a blog post to someone else to read, that shares on social media, that responds back to me, that engages and lets me know what they think and what they're hearing. Thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed through the Patreon. These subscriptions are what fund the project and keep it going. There's so many different tiers available starting at $1 and $2 a month, and each tier gets you access to different kinds of things. So, for example, the $2 a month listener tier gets you access to interviews on Thursdays, so early access to the audio and video versions of interviews that are out every Thursday, typically in the evening time. Your $3 a month member tier adds on these weekly between the interview series on Mondays. That's what I gave a little sneak peek. There are some early examples of those between the interviews that were posted on the main feed so that folks could kind of get a lay of the land and what's behind the motivation for this project. Those reflection episodes are still going every Monday, and the folks in that member tier are still have access to those things. The VIP tier has access to merch. I really do my best to give back to those that are joining. So check the show notes for the link to the Patreon. There's a lot there. If you're interested in any of the behind the scenes of like how this project gets made from the back end, like if you are someone who is interested in starting anything that looks similar to this, whatever your topic is, like I am really open, just like I'm asking these folks that I'm interviewing about like the mistakes that they made. I do my best to be very open about the mistakes and the lessons learned that I made, plus the resources that really helped me, the people that I'm looking up to. Like I yeah, why not share my experience there? So that's all available there. And just in general, I truly want to hear from you. So please, please message me on Instagram, message me on the Patreon, leave me a review that tells me what you think of it. Email me your thoughts and your suggestions, including the things that you don't like. I got tough skin, people. You can tell me the things that I need to improve upon. I am very open about early days, early stage, that this entire project and almost everything that goes into it is brand spanking new to me. And I am learning, not just from these leaders that I'm interviewing, but I'm learning about the technical side of things. I'm learning about social media. I'm learning about advertising. Like, I'm learning about all of these types of things. And I am happy to share what I have learned as well. And so I want your feedback. I want the things that I'm not talking about that you want to hear about that is within this Capitalism for Good space. So reach out to me. I want to hear from you. I truly do. Send me your thoughts and I'll do your research. Like I said, I really am listening and kind of creeping to see where people are coming from, where you're located, what your interests are. And so if there's an industry or an interest of yours that I haven't hit on that you are really interested, like, send me your thoughts. If you have a question that is related to this Capitalism for Good project, I'll do the research here. So send them on over. I'm already doing it. I might as well do something that fits what you're asking for and what you're looking for. Finally, my last little plug and shout out here is, if you are interested in working together to build better community, check out the business website for CFG. It's at capitalism-for-good.com. There's also a link down in the show notes. And whether you are interested in starting or expanding a community give back initiative with your company, if you want to plan a volunteer day and you don't want someone that's already your full-time employee taking away from their normal job to do it, if you're looking for a charity partner within a specific space or that aligns cleanly with your company values and your philosophy, or if you want to perhaps talk about some education around the value of community partnerships and what that can add to your business if done well and done efficiently and effectively, I would love to help. So I'd be happy to get on a phone call, see how CFG can help you with your community goals. Once again, would love to hear from you if you've got thoughts, needs, questions, interest anywhere within that space. I truly believe that we are stronger when we work together, and that we can truly make a really impactful, positive future if we just put all our brains and our skills together and leverage those things to build better community. So, all right. That's enough. Let's go leave this place better than we found it.